PowerUp icons underwent a massive change in NHL 25. I'm going to go through everything that you need to know about how they work, which ones to acquire, ranking them in a tier list, as well as some other tips and tricks on how to acquire these extremely powerful cards in HUT. Let's get into it. First things first, we need to go over the biggest change for PowerUp icons, and that is simply that they will not get the +1 every month upgrade tier unlocked. They are going to operate like X Factors have in past years, where once a new version of that player comes out, that tier will unlock. So if an 87 overall Matt Sundin event item is released, then the Matt Sundin hologram PowerUp icon will have his upgrade tiers unlocked to 87. Another huge change is that the hologram PowerUp icons all come with zero-cost gold zone abilities. That's right, you do not have to pay any of your allotted ability points towards these hologram players, making them extremely impactful. As the only other card that is released in the game currently with this benefit is the supercharged X Factor Connor McDavid, which just happens to be the most expensive card in the game. Now, the other big change with PowerUp icons, whether it's hologram or the normal version, is that they will upgrade with icon tokens. Each tier, depending on the overall that it is going to unlock, is going to cost a set amount of icon tokens. However, early on in the game or when you're first starting your team, any of the PowerUp icons that only require one icon token, you can go ahead and safely upgrade and unlock, because when you refund a tier, you will get half of whatever you put into it back into your collection. So if you paid with coins, you would get half of the coins back. But if you paid with one icon token, they can't half an icon token, meaning that you can go ahead and refund and it will go right back into your collection. Now, when it comes to acquiring icon tokens, you will get a few for free from the PowerUp icon objectives. You will get one for completing all 10 tiers of the hits, perform deeks, as well as score goals. Now, if you haven't watched my how to get started video, the perform deeks can be done in one squad battles game, which is obviously going to be very easy for you. On top of that, you also get a free icon token just from your starter pack. So no matter what, right when you start your team, you are already going to have one ready to go. And again, once you get into the higher tiers, like for example, any of the hologram PowerUp icons, they go up to 86 for their first tier and they will require 2. So just keep that in mind when you're investing your icon tokens, because eventually you are going to have to sink some of your resources into creating them. Speaking of creating your icon token sets, if you head on over to the PowerUp icon sets, the very first selection you can make is the icon token sets. And based on the overalls that you turn in, you will get various amounts back. For example, if you turn in 5 80 and above player items, they can be any player from any league and team, that'll net you 5 icon tokens in return. As you go lower in overalls, it will obviously take more cards to actually turn in. 78 and above will net you 4 icon tokens for 10 items. 1976 above items for 3 icon tokens. 3274 and above player items for 2 icon tokens. And finally, 4072 and above player items for 1 icon token. Now, this year, there are 2 different types of PowerUp icons in the game. They are separated into modern PowerUp icons and vintage PowerUp icons. So let's go through and rank all of them, because that's going to be important a little bit later on. The first tier list, let's break down the base PowerUp icons. This is going to be important because as you start to build your team, these cards will have a pretty big impact. But like I always say, always choose your favorite player regardless. If you are looking for just the best player that is going to help you perform in the game, that's what this list pertains to. So let's start in the C tier. We've got the Minnesota Wild's Owen Nolan. He's 6'1", 214, comes with power forward and off the rush. And honestly, given the rebalance to synergies, power forward is useful, but it just doesn't have any really impactful attributes being boosted at all. So there's no speed or acceleration or agility. There's no shot upgrade. There's no deking upgrade or body checking, defensive awareness, or face-offs. So in my opinion, it's just one of the lower ones. It's not bad, it's just not great. And then his ability off the rush is just one of the lesser impactful abilities in the game. Essentially, it will give you a powered up slap shot on your first shot with that player if he brings the puck into the zone. But very rarely will that shot ever beat a goalie because you have to take it from distance. That being said, he does have 83 acceleration and 84 speed to go along with 87 balance, and a decent shot into the mid to high 80s. His body checking is good at 85, but because he is a pure right-handed winger and doesn't offer anything exceptional, there's just far better options for you than this Owen Nolan card. Next in the C tier, we've got Esa Tikkanen. He's 6'1", 200, the left-handed winger. With his 83 overall upgrade, he does come with playmaking forward as well as silver close quarters. He's got 83 speed, 81 acceleration, which is among the slowest of all of the power-up icons. And while speed is much lower this year and the game plays a lot slower, there is a dramatic advantage for any of the players that have high 80s or low 90s speed, not to mention the longevity that they're going to be useful in your lineup is just much longer as we get into higher overalls. His endurance is awful at 78. His shot is mediocre in the mid to low 80s. His hand stats are pretty good, specifically his passing, but he is a pure left-handed winger that just, again, does not offer anything exceptional. Next in the C tier, we have my man Joe Thornton. Stoked that he was added to the power-up icons, and he's got unbelievable size for a center at 6'4", 220. I still find it hilarious that they made him look super fat in this picture. He's got playmaking forward, obviously, and third eye, which again, makes sense. However, it's just one of the more useless abilities in Hockey Ultimate Team. And when you combine the fact that he's only got 82 speed and acceleration, he's just very sluggish. His shot is nothing special. His passing is great, as is his offensive awareness, but his body checking is lower. That's kind of negated by his gigantic size, and his face-off rating is only 78. Again, like the other cards we've already talked about, just so many better options. Our next player is Claude Lemieux from the Colorado Avalanche. At 83 overall, he comes in at 6'1", 215 with two-way forward, which is a really good ability in my opinion. And Unstoppable Force definitely has its place as one of the more useful abilities in the game. He's got 84 speed, 82 acceleration, and 84 agility, so again on the lower end of the skating scale. His shot is pretty rough, even at launch of the game, as are his hand stats. Now, he does come with decent body checking at 83 overall, and pretty good defensive awareness and stick checking when you get two-way forward activated. Again, much like the others, just nothing great here. Our last card in the C tier, we've got Scott Gomez from the New Jersey Devils. At 83 overall, he's 5'11", 200 with playmaking forward, as well as puck on a string. Now, puck on a string is a very niche ability, meaning that I would really only recommend it if you've got a ton of ability points available, or you're someone that plays World of Chell quite a bit. It will impact the speed of which you move your stick when you go left and right, and that's really more for the higher end World of Chell players. Again, has its usefulness, but there's just so many better options when it comes to abilities. 84 speed and acceleration is in that mediocre tier, and he's only 5'11", so that kind of is double negative for him. His agility is good, which is important, means that he can make his cuts kind of quickly, but his endurance is only 78, so he's not going to be able to keep his stamina for very long. Mid to low 80 shooting. His hand stats are pretty good when it comes to his offensive awareness and passing. Body checking is only 78, and his face-offs are only 78. And that will do it for the C tier. Let's move on to the B tier with Brian McCabe from the Toronto Maple Leafs at 6'2", 223. He has elite size. He does come with offensive defenseman, which is a pretty fun synergy for defensemen. On top of that, he's got silver 1T. My only issue with 1T is that I don't think you need it, especially early on at launch of NHL 25. I mean, if you played wild card and had silver cards in your lineup, if you green up a skill-based one-timer, it goes in more often than not. So I think this might just be overkill, but still a very good ability. When it comes to his attributes, he's got 84 speed, 81 acceleration, and 84 agility. In my opinion, acceleration on defensemen is very important. And the reason for that is you want to be able to get up to your top speed as fast as possible if you lose the puck at the blue line. That is really the most dangerous spot to lose it. And if you've got someone with very slow acceleration,
fire the emergency booster engines!
To go along with speed that isn't very great, you're more than likely going to have no chance at getting back. His body checking is good at 85, as is his defensive awareness, also at 85. Next up in the B tier, we've got Ray Bourque at 6'2", He's got offensive defenseman as well as Heat Seeker, which was one of the more fun abilities in NHL 24. 84 speed, 83 acceleration, and 82 agility. So again, on the slower end for skaters. And even with offensive defenseman activated, his slapshot power maxes out at 86. His deking rating down at 77. Body checking is down at 78, but he does make up for it with really good defensive awareness. Now, his weight helps out with his lower body checking stat. All in all, a pretty good defenseman card. Following him, we've got Trevor Linden. Now, I almost put him in the C tier just because he's very sluggish, but he is big and does have a decent face-off rating with two-way forward, which is one of the better synergies in my opinion. Born Leader is pretty effective as well, especially early on when being able to keep your lines fresh is very important. But like I mentioned with some of the other cards, he's got very low skating. His shot is mediocre, as are his hand stats. Just plays like a true power forward, but he is built perfect for center. Next up in the B tier, we've got Mike Pekka from the New York Islanders. He was borderline A tier for me, but his size hurts a little bit when playing center. The reason why, again, is your centerman is going to be kind of defending the slot area or forcing the issue on the outside, and you always want to have a bigger player so you're able to knock people off the puck. He does have a great body checking stat, though, to make up for his size. Grinding forward is actually a really fun synergy as well, giving you a +1 to acceleration, 2 to balance, 2 to body checking, and 2 to stick checking. A little bit harder to activate because you need many grinding forwards, and there just aren't a ton of good ones. That being said, he's got Silver Quick Draw, which in my opinion is one of the best abilities in the game. It is an animation ability, meaning that you will actually just move your stick faster when taking face-offs, and when it comes to defensive zone draws, you get an even bigger boost. So if you are someone that is really good on the draws and you have Quick Draw on your player, you're going to win the face-off more often than not. He's got decent skating at 86 speed, 85 acceleration. His shot is really rough, where slap shot accuracy doesn't even hit 80, as is his deking at 78, and his offensive awareness is only 82. So a pure grinding forward in every sense of the word, but he's in the B tier for me. Al McInnes is up next in the B tier. Again, I almost moved him into the A tier. He is 6'1", 204 with one of the better synergies in two-way defenseman, and he's got Thunderclap. Now, Thunderclap in prior years wasn't all that effective, and what you're really looking for is obviously a one-timer in NHL 25, but it's not completely useless, especially when you consider the fact he's got one of the best slap shots in the game at 92 power, 86 accuracy. However, he is a little bit slower at 84 speed, 82 acceleration, so very sluggish. Next, we've got Rick Nash. He's built like the perfect card in Hockey Ultimate Team at 6'4", 211, and he does come with Sniper Forward, which, like I said, is a very important synergy early on when shooting attributes are pretty low. Gets his shot into the mid to high 80s, and he comes with Unstoppable Force, in which you pair with someone who's very big, again, all very impactful. The issue here is that he is a pure winger, so there is no lineup flexibility. Left-handed wing is the easiest spot in the entire lineup to fill, and then again, his skating is at 84 speed, 83 acceleration, and agility. And while attributes that are low like this early on aren't going to cost you, it's just they're going to be replaced and you are going to have many other left-handed winger options that you can use. On to the A tier, and surprising even myself, we've got Mark Recchi. 5'10", 195. There is very rarely ever a good Mark Recchi card in Hockey Ultimate Team. And while this one isn't great, he's got 88 speed, which is among the better cards in the game. Has a pretty good synergy, a two-way forward, even though his face-off rating isn't going to mean much. But he also has Make It Snappy, which is still one of the best offensive abilities in the game. His shot is okay, his hand stats are all above 85, but it's really his speed that props up his value here, because there just aren't a ton of cards that have 88 speed with Make It Snappy. Next in the A tier, it wouldn't be a launch of Hockey Ultimate Team without Brett Hull being one of the best cards for the first 2 weeks. Every year, it's the same story. Brett Hull comes in with the best shot in the game, including Sniper Forward, which gets his shot to 95. Again, everyone gets hung up on skating being the most important attribute, but when your shot is so far and away better than everyone else's, including all of the goaltenders that are currently in the game, their attributes are very low, so when you have someone that has mid-90s shooting, it's even harder for them to stop it. The real issue here is, again, his skating is just abysmal. 82 speed, acceleration, and 84 agility to go with 82 deking, and then he's only got 77 body checking. He just runs out of being very effective pretty quickly, but there's no argument that at the launch of the game, when there aren't that many great skaters and everyone's kind of got a mid-team across the board, if you get Brett Hull in the offensive zone with the puck and a free shot at the net, it's almost always going to go in. Next in the A tier, we've got Mike Fisher. Now, this is because Mike Fisher cards, for me, have always been pretty good. Even back in NHL 24, his Team Builder card was one of the most effective, but he does come with two-way forward, which, again, great synergy, which gets his face-off rating up to 83 overall. He's got great size at 6'1", 216, and 85 speed, 84 acceleration, and 85 agility. He's just like the perfect third line center on your team for the first few weeks of the game, or even higher depending on what you go with from your pre-order choices or if you missed out on those entirely. Born Leader is a pretty good ability, like I mentioned, so he's just a very safe card. Another surprising card is Chris Draper, who again very rarely ever gets a good HUT card. At 5'10", 188, his 83 comes with grinding forward, which again, like I mentioned, one of the better synergies and would pair really well with Mike Pekka. And Quick Draw, much like Mike Pekka, one of the better abilities early on in the game. Has 88 speed to go with 86 acceleration if you get grinding forward activated, and 86 agility, so he is one of the better skaters. His shot is real rough, as are his hand stats, but Silver Quick Draw and 88 speed, it's just tough to come by early on. Pat LaFontaine is up next in the A tier. He's got Sniper Forward, which boosts his shot into the high 80s. He's got 88 speed and 89 acceleration to go along with 87 agility, as well as make it snappy. Just a very, very good offensive card. He does only have 78 face-off rating, so you're more than likely going to play him on the wing, and only 80 body checking, so he's not going to help you out defensively. But among offensive cards, this is a very good one. Yari Curry is up next at 6'1", 195, the right-handed winger. Comes with Sniper Forward, again, very good synergy, which gets his shot into the 90s, as well as Silver Make It Snappy. 87 speed, 86 acceleration, and 89 agility to go along with very good size, as well as a great shot is an awesome combo. He also has 89 deking. For anyone that doesn't know what the deking attribute actually does, is it increases the speed and the success of each deke. So if you've got someone with very low deking, anytime that you pull off a deke, it's going to happen very slow, and you have a high chance of just losing the puck, which is why deking, in my opinion, is one of the more important ones, especially with how slow this game is, and you need to create time and space with movement. Body checking and defensive ratings are obviously pretty rough. Right-handed forward also is the hardest forward spot to fill, in my opinion, so all in all, makes him a very good power-up icon. And lastly, in the A tier, we've got Dale Howardchuk, 5'11", 196. 87 speed, 86 acceleration with 84 agility. Does come with two-way forward. He's got very good endurance as well, and from my time actually using this card, I found him to be very effective. He's got mid-80 shooting, great hand stats across the board, and if you are a very good face-off player, 79 with two-way forward active is enough to overcome the lower face-off rating, but this is a personal preference for me. There's some other cards that might be more impressive statistically or with decent attributes, but Dale Howardchuk has been very good since I've used him. All right, on to the S tier. Again, gonna surprise myself, but at launch, the smaller players are just super effective. Martin St. Louis at 5'8", 180, and playmaking forward has him with 88 speed and acceleration and 89 agility. He's got a decent wrist shot with 86 accuracy, deking at 85, and the rest of his hand stats are pretty good. He is a pure winger, but he also comes with Silver Elite Edges, which in my opinion is one of the best abilities in the game. Obviously, you don't want to load your entire lineup with smaller players, but I've gone up against Martin St. Louis a few times, and he is really tough to defend once he gets going. Next, in the S tier, we've got the 83 Maurice Richard, 5'10", 170, another smaller player. Sniper forward gets his shot into the high 80s, and he's got silver wheels. And again, the ability point cost on wheels is really important because it only 1, even though we only get 6. At 89 speed and acceleration, that makes it really tough to defend because there is not a lot of cards that have speed at that level, on top of the fact that he won't really lose any speed when he's got the puck. A complete liability defensively, but again, early on in the game, the smaller players definitely have an impact. On top of that, he's got 91 endurance, so he can stay on the ice for quite some time. Following him, we've got Sergei Gonchar, 6'2", 210. Great size. Comes with offensive defenseman and heat seeker. Again, I think the play at the point is to try and take one-timers, but heat seeker still has a place. Offensive defenseman helps out with the one-timer option. A lot of defensemen do not have slap shot power and accuracy that are both in the 80s, so that is a bonus. On top of that, he's got 88 speed, 87 acceleration, and 88 agility. Defensive awareness is an issue at 81, and it is the most important defensive attribute in the game, in my opinion. And his body checking is only 74, but his size makes up for it. This thing is just a weapon on the breakout and at the point in the offensive zone. Next, we've got another left-handed defenseman with the 83, Paul Coffey at 6'2", 205. Offensive defenseman as well as seeing eye. Very similar to Sergei Gonchar, where he's got great skating at 89 speed, acceleration, 87 agility, a very good shot in the mid to high 80s. Body checking is only 78, and his defensive awareness is 79. So he really needs to be paired with a right-handed defensive defenseman, but his skating and shot early on in NHL is always impactful. One of the god-tier cards in Hockey Ultimate Team every year is Mike Madonna. The 83 PowerUp icon is 6'3", 212, with two-way forward and silver wheels. He's got 87 speed, 89 acceleration, and 87 agility, so not as fast as years past, but still pretty quick. A decent shot in the mid-80s, and again, if you are good on the draw, can play center. It's the fact that he's got 87 speed and 89 acceleration at 6'3", 212. There really isn't that combo in the game, which makes him just kind of a rare breed, especially early on. And lastly, in my opinion, the first card that you should go after when it comes to the base power-up icons is Broad Brendamore. At 6'1", 205, he's got great size, two-way forward, which helps out his already great face-off rating, getting it up to 88, making him one of the best face-off men in the game at launch. 90 endurance as well, and 88 speed. His acceleration and agility is a little bit lower at 84 and 83, but when you combine the fact that he's got good size, good body checking, a great face-off rating, and defensive awareness, just a very good all-around card, and impactful. Everyone could use this card in your lineup. Now let's touch on the hologram power-up icons, and there's legit probably only two tiers here. There's the goaltenders like Patrick Waugh, who even at 86 overall is still only 6'2". Nothing he can do about that. And in NHL, that just is not going to lead to an impressive performance in net. Goalies never matter, including the 86 Roberto Luongo, who is a little bit taller at 6'3", and has Showstopper, which is a great ability. Again, for the cost, just not worth it at all. The other tier is everyone else, but for the sake of ranking, I will give just my personal thoughts. These are all very close, and they're all great cards. I'll start with Gordie Howe because he's only got 86 speed, does have 89 acceleration, but his agility's 82, meaning that he turns like a boat. An okay shot, but great body checking, and close quarters so far I've seen to be really impactful again after it was nerfed in NHL 24, but he's a pure winger, so that kind of knocks his value down. Next, I would go Daniel Alfredsson. He's only 5'11", but it's still 203, so it's not like it's bad size. And 89 skating across the board. His shot is in the mid to high 80s. His hand stats are very good, but his body checking is only 79. And he is a pure winger and born leader, while a good ability, is just not as insane as some of the other ones, especially with the no cost. Like I said, all of these cards are fantastic. 86 Jerome McGinley at 6'1", 210. While power forward is not a great synergy, Gold Make It Snappy is one of the best, and he's got 87 speed to go with 89 acceleration and a very good shot, as well as a great body checking stat at 87 overall. Chris Chelios at 6'1", 191 comes with two-way defenseman, which gives him among the highest defensive awareness in the game, and 88 speed, 89 acceleration with a good slap shot at 86 accuracy, 89 power. 78 deking is pretty rough, meaning that you're just going to have to move the puck immediately with him. But he does have gold shutdown, which again is one of the best defensive abilities in the game. Matt Sundin is going to be one of the best centermen for a while. At 6'5", 231, playmaking forward and gold quick draw with 89 faceoffs. Even with his skating being down at 86 and acceleration 87, that's completely fine, if not good, at the start of the year. This thing is a weapon. Nick Lidstrom is always a good option at 89 speed, 87 acceleration. Not the greatest skating, but two-way defenseman again gets his defensive awareness up to 92, and has gold quick pick, which proved to be one of the better defensive abilities in NHL 24. Now, intercepts actually happen in NHL 25, so it might not be completely necessary, but he's an all-around great defenseman. Scott Niedermayer is essentially the left-handed version of Cale Makar in this game, with two-way defenseman as well as gold elite edges and 90 speed, excel, and agility across the board. A great card, given the fact that he's got a decent shot, great speed, good size, and really high defensive awareness. Who could forget one of the GOATs after his addition in NHL 24 to the alumni list? Bobby Orr is back at 6'1", 198, 91 speed and excel, offensive defenseman, and gold wheels that cost 0. You can go end to end with Bobby Orr with max skating, even with the puck, just a force off the rush. And then the two stalwarts. We've got the 86 Wayne Gretzky at 6'1", 185 and playmaking forward. Gold edges, again, one of the best abilities in the game. And last year, Wayne was better than Lemieux for a majority of the game. You're not going to find many cards that have 90 skating, shot accuracy above 90, all of their hand stats above 90, with 88 face-offs. Just a lethal card. And then lastly, we've got Mario Lemieux at 6'4", 230, always a great card. He's got Sniper Forward, which gets his shot all into the 90s, 87 speed, excel, and 89 agility. Hand stats are all in the 90s, and even though his body checking is only 78, he's 6'4", 230. Gold Unstoppable Force makes him really hard to knock off the puck, and he's got 85 face-off rating. You can't go wrong with Mario Lemieux. Now, the thing to keep in mind early on when you are starting your team and thinking about attacking some of the hologram power-up icons is you want to make sure that you do it correctly so you set yourself up to actually be able to acquire these for as cheap as possible. Now, this year, how you make the power-up icons is very similar to prior years. However, it is broken into the vintage and modern power-up icons. So, if you wanted one of the vintage hologram power-up icons, you would need to trade in all of the vintage power-up icons at 82 overall to get the choice pack that would allow you to pick from the 6 vintage hologram cards. Now, the same thing applies for the modern hologram set. You will need to trade in all 12 of the modern power-up icons to get the modern hologram choice pack. Again, pretty straightforward. Now, the cost of these is pretty astronomical. So again, I am recording this during early access. Things will change, but it's nice to see a baseline here. 76 overall player items. It does not have to be NHL items, literally just any player. These are going for $2,900 by now, which means that 24 of those cards is going to run you about 70,000 coins. And since you need 12 of them, one of the hologram icons at the current market price is 835,000 coins. Unless we see some unbelievable inflation in the market, those prices have to come down or we're in a lot of trouble. However, we're not all doomed because at the launch of NHL 25, especially if you pre-order the game, you do get a few power-up icons, and I want to bring this next tip up so that you don't make a pretty costly mistake, especially when you consider that each one of these is 70,000 coins in value. Now, as it currently stands, there are 4 free power-up icons that you can acquire. The first one is in your starter pack. Everyone gets a random base power-up icon right when they start their team. The second is at the end of the first early access XP path. You will get a early access icon player choice item. It is only one of 5. The other 2 are located in the hologram moments. There are 6 vintage moments that will at the end net you a vintage icon player choice pack, as well as a icon token. And then there is a set of modern moments, and at the end you will get a modern icon player choice pack, as well as icon tokens. What I recommend is the first hologram that you chase after, especially if you're no money spent and you don't have a card that you absolutely want because it's your favorite player, whatever type that you got in your starter pack, again, is 70,000 coins in value. So if you got a vintage power-up icon, I would probably go after a vintage hologram. However, if you also complete the early access XP path, you will get this one of 5 choice pack. This has been in the game for quite some time now, but once you open the pack and you go through the insane pack animation that is cool for like 30 seconds and then just absolutely infuriating when you consider you have to do this for every single one and you can't skip the animation, you might end up like me with no real great option. So what you can do is instead of selecting one of these cards, if you hit the menu on PlayStation or Xbox, choose the game and then close the game in this screen before you make a selection, you can reload the game, go back to the unopened packs, and you will find that early access icon player choice pack in there. You can hold on to that until you're sure of which way you are going to go. That way you don't choose a modern icon even though you want to go after vintage and vice versa. Again, just making sure that you play it safe. So I hope after all that, you now understand power-up icons and the ones to chase after, as well as how to acquire them. Thank you guys again for watching. I'll see you next time. Have a good one.